Demons, zombies, rat queens, aliens, and more to come. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 4 of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. We have had a really interesting set of episodes so far. Each of them kind of focusing on kind of these different creatures, these different kinds of supernatural elements. And the first two kind of had a similar message to them. The third one didn't really have much of a message, I would say, but was still very entertaining and tension building in its own right. All three of them were very good. I still think my favorite is the first one, though. I don't think it's been beaten yet. I'm definitely curious to see where this goes. Because I know nothing about future titles or concepts or anyone who might be in this series. So I'm just hoping that it continues to impress and that things continue to go in a very interesting, dark manner. Because that's the kind of shit I really enjoy with these. The darker tones and styles and the very creepy atmosphere with it all. It doesn't feel like anything else I've really watched, like even with other Guillermo del Toro stuff. And I think part of that comes down to having the different writers and everyone working on this. It allows it to feel like each episode is its own thing. And I mean, with an anthology series, it kind of should. So, hey. I don't really have much else to say going into this, though. Because, like I said, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to go for next. With it being an anthology, I don't have, a lot of, ongoing things to talk about. So, I think we should probably just get into this and see what this episode has in store for us. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So the outside isn't referring to, outside of the house or anything, like I was thinking with the entire TV thing. Instead, it refers to, outer beauty and the how you're perceived on the outside. I can kind of see multiple, adjoining meanings there. And at the same time, the obsession with TV is more regarding televisions, like the way television and film and whatnot kind of warps your sense of self to the degree that these movies, these shows, these commercials tell you have to look a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way in order to be seen as beautiful. It's definitely a statement being made here on self-image, but also on how media tends to warp our self-image and make us think we need all these new products to make ourselves look good. It's a lot more on the nose than the other episodes have been with their messages. It's very on the nose with it, with the entire lotion woman and everything, and it doesn't hide its message. And some people I could see having a big issue with that, believing that it's like it's way too like preachy or in your face about it. But that's kind of the point. Because as it kind of shows in the episode itself, being subtle and being like trying to like be nice and dance around the issue doesn't help. It doesn't actually achieve anything. You kind of have to be a little more aggressive. You kind of have to be a little more outspoken about it. Because if you're not, the message won't get through to people. Because there's this idea in the world, and again, it's been like perpetuated by media and commercials and everything, that women have to look and act a certain way to be seen as attractive or worthwhile. And as Stacy brings up in the episode, men often don't get scrutinized as much for this. Men can look like anything and be treated with respect still. Which, mind you, is not 100% true. There's a lot of men and male presenting individuals who do face a lot of issues from people about like being overweight and looking unattractive and stuff. Men are held to standards too, just not as aggressively. And again, it's because of media and everything. Because media has like developed this take of what this like perfect woman is, of what she looks like, of what how she dresses. And if you don't look and dress like that, you're seen as lesser. And I'm wondering, like, this was directed by a woman, and I know this was like obviously Kate Micucci stars in this, and she does tend to have a more mousy appearance. I'm wondering if like both her and the director maybe have like experienced this just out of curiosity, like growing up and like going through life and everything. Because it's like, while I believe that Kate Micucci is extremely attractive, like super pretty and everything, I know for a fact that not everybody shares that opinion. I've heard people say she looks too mousy, or kind of like her face looks squished or whatever, which I don't agree with. But I've heard people say this, and it's like it's so rude for one thing, but on top of that, it's just I don't understand how people can talk about others that way and not see the problem, not see not only how it could hurt them in the short run, but also how it could give them long lasting negative outlooks on themselves that causes long term psychological and emotional damage. Because they're drilled into their heads since childhood, really, that if they aren't beautiful, that they have no self-worth, or that they have no worth at all. And so when you like mock them and mistreat them and all, it gives them this issue, this self-consciousness issue, to where they have to like do all these desperate things just to try and feel pretty. Sometimes it breaks the bank for them. Sometimes like they would put themselves through hell, like for these things that they might have like reactions to and get rashes and stuff, as we see in this. And they might stop listening to the people in their lives who are just trying to help them, just trying to, you know, tell them that they look perfect the way they already do, because of how society teaches women that they have to be. And it's really fucked. It's absolutely really fucked. and it's something that's very real, and it can drive women insane, and even NBs who go through this as well, like being told, like, growing up that they have to look a certain way. And just anyone, really. Like, I myself have gone through these feelings of self image issues. I mean, I'm a trans woman. That alone has given me a lot of self image issues. I've had a lot of problems with the way I look because of that. But also, on top of that, I also have self image issues because of my weight. And just generally speaking, I don't find myself to be very attractive. And most of the time, I'm okay. Most of the time, like, I don't worry about what other people think of me in that way. But there are times where I kind of crack under that. And I start to really worry about it. And I don't have the ability to, like, get all this stuff done or get all these lotions or whatever. But I also know that that's not going to help. Like, you could get lotions that make your skin baby smooth. It's not going to change the way you look. But again, this is what, like, people are told. This is what the commercials will say. It's like, just use this lotion, you'll be looking like a whole new person. No, you won't. But you're being led to believe that because it sells the lotion. It's it's really fucked up that we live in a world that treats people this way. That uses their insecurities and fears and self-image issues to, you know, give them even more issues and make them so scared of what others think of them. And Kay Micucci did a great job at this performance. You really felt like her fear and her anxieties, and she felt like she really melted into the role. Maybe the wrong term to use considering, but still. um and I mentioned this felt like more of like a Black Mirror episode than what we've gotten for the first three episodes of Cabinet of Curiosities. And again, like I said in the reaction, that's not a bad thing because Black Mirror's fantastic. But it felt more in line with like how that series kind of goes about its themes and messages rather than what we've seen from the first three of this one. Again, it was much more direct and in your face with the messaging, and it just really like was paced and presented very differently than the horror we see in the first three episodes. I almost wouldn't even count this as horror. Not in that kind of traditional sense, at least. Like, there's obviously, like, she kills her husband and everything, and there's the entire creepy factor with the lotion woman. But it's not like a traditional horror. In fact, I would say, like, it feels more like a thriller than a horror. A supernatural thriller that is more about sending like a very direct message than actually being like scary, because it wasn't scary, and not even slightly. It was a little unnerving and creepy and weird and uncomfortable, but not scary. And again, that kind of like is in opposition to the first three episodes, because you had the demon from the first episode that was freaky as hell. You had the zombie and the rat queen and all the other rats from the second episode, and that was like really freaky. And then in the third one, you had the entire parasitic alien situation and a live dissection of shit going on. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty scary. You can see how all of those are horror. But this one is like more of a thematic thriller that focuses around this message of self-worth and vanity than anything. I could absolutely see why people might not like this as much as other episodes because of how different it feels, but I personally found this to be a really fascinating watch. Like, I was very hooked in. I was very, very intensely curious as to what was going to happen and how this was going to end and everything. And it honestly did not go in the way I thought it was going to. I, for one, somehow did not put together that she was going to, that she was going to, oh my god, my mind is blanking. Hold on. It's like, it's just so much to take in. That she was going to taxidermy her husband. Like, I caught that she was going to kill him. That was fairly obvious. Honestly, I thought she was going to kill the other women too. Um, so I figured she was going to kill her husband, despite how absolutely lovely he was. By the way, apparently that was, I think, Dan Stevens. And it's like, oh, I didn't even realize. He was in like Abigail and stuff, and it's like very different role. But it's like, yeah, and I'm just like watching this like, okay, she's clearly going to kill him, maybe kill her coworkers. That didn't happen. She's going to snap. But again, the taxidermy thing just didn't cross my mind for some reason. Despite it being set up so goddamn well. It just didn't click for me that was going to happen. And then when we see that it's happening, it's like, I don't know how well it was coming across because, as I've said in the past, it's like I don't tend to be the most expressive person, and on top of that, it's like I just don't think like my expressions like really stand out a lot of the time unless it's like extreme. I don't know how well it appeared, but I was like horrifically disgusted at that. Just just the concept of someone being taxidermied like was really gross to me. But like also like basically seeing it happen, it's like I don't know like how like my face looked there, but I feel like I was like cringing really hard. um yeah, it's just that was that was definitely a thing that happened. I I almost don't know how to take it all in. It was like it was so weird and wild and crazy and what is with all these shows and movies and stuff trying to make like really beautiful actresses like be perceived as unattractive? It's like the fuck. Like I'm not gonna be like an asshole and say like, oh, they should find an ugly actress because it's like that's just really rude. But it's like you find like they find these actresses that are just like conventionally attractive, that are pretty notably attractive, and it's like again, it just reminds me of that line from the Barbie movie where Margot Robbie, who's playing Barbie, is like, I'm not like conventionally attractive Barbie or whatever she says, and suddenly the narrator pops in. It's like, note to the directors: if you want to make this point, don't cast Margot Robbie. It's this big fourth wall break that is so fucking funny, but also so true, because Margot Robbie is like gorgeous. It reminds me of that. It's like maybe it's just me because again, I have heard people like shit talk how Kamakuchi looks, which I think is really fucking rude and terrible in general, but also I just think it's like unfair because it's like she's so pretty. uh Also, it's interesting seeing her in this because she's more of a comedic actress, and this was a very serious role. Like she played this very straight, very serious, and I really liked her performance. She really sold it extremely well. I again, I mentioned in the reaction, I don't think I've seen much of anything with her in live action. It's mostly been like voice role stuff, but when I have seen like clips and stuff of her in like interviews or performances for her music, she's goofy. She's a rather goofy person. Um, but in this, it's just like she's really serious and like really tragic, and I felt extremely bad for her the entire time. Because the thing is, this is very real. It's like a lot of women are like lured into thinking this way because of how society looks at them. And I feel so bad for them because like they don't need to like make themselves up this much to be beautiful. And it's just it creates this just terrible sense of vanity that ruins people's self-esteem. And that's just not fair or right. So it's like even watching this, knowing it's obviously fiction and all, I still felt extremely bad for her the entire time. And then when she like starts getting like aggressive towards her husband, it's like one of the only times I'm gonna start feeling bad for a cop because like this guy's just the sweetest, nicest man ever. It's like okay, but why is he an absolute delight? He was so goddamn nice, so goddamn wonderful. He cared so much about her and just wanted the best for her. And it's just like, okay. And then she ends up like stabbing him in the head, which didn't surprise me at all. I mean, we saw that she had the scalpel there. It was obvious she was going to stab him. It's like, or slash at his throat or something like that. But the blood squirting out of his head after he pulls it out, which was stupid, by the way. And then she comes in with the axe. I knew the axe was going to come into play. That was set up way too well. There was so much that was set up really well. Really, it really felt like good natural setup. So I'm really, I really like this one. I would still say the first one is my favorite though. It's just and yeah, part of it is probably just because of how off guard it caught me. But I just really loved the first episode. It was so satisfying, so like intensely exciting and scary. It's like that is what I was kind of hoping for more of. But I like that each episode is very different. That they each have their own like styles to them. It makes them all stand out and makes it worth being an anthology series, you know? I think this is my second favorite now though. Like I genuinely do. I think it's my second favorite. I'm just really impressed by the theming and messaging in there. I really, really felt for the characters. I got lost in the acting. It's just like I was like swept away by this one. In terms of like the story alone, this is the best one. It just in terms of the story. But in terms of like the horror theming and the imagery and all of that as well, the first one slightly edges over to number one for me still. But it's like I'm just so impressed by this. I just I want to use like very pretty Kate Micucci for the thumbnail, but I also feel like that would like spoil the entire episode, so I can't. So I'm gonna have to use like her with like the quote unquote ugly makeup, which it's like she still didn't look ugly. It's like you just can't make her look ugly to me. Like she's so pretty. Um, I'm gonna have to use her like in that. I'm probably gonna use the. I mean, you'll have seen the thumbnail by this point. I'm probably gonna end up using the lotion woman too. Just makes sense to me. But yeah, this was wild. Like I would have never seen this episode coming. But tell me in the comments below what you thought. Let me know your thoughts on The Outside. And as always, no spoilers for any of the future episodes. But for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.